We dance as the city roars. Tune in loud, turn up some more. Cincinnati show, it's time to play. Sports with strawberry ice today. 5:30 sharp, don't be late. CTV, the sports awaits. Strawberry ices on the mic, energy, it's pure delight. Every touchdown, every goal. Feel the pulse, it's in your soul. Cincinnati heartbeats strong. Strawberry ice will lead the throng. Every touchdown, every goal. Feel the pulse, it's in your soul. Cincinnati heartbeats strong. Strawberry ice will lead the throng. Feel the crowd, it's electric now. Shouting loud, they all know how. The CTV got what we crave. Sports with ice, it's waves and waves. Tigers strike and Bengals roar. Every game we want some more. Tune it in and feel the thrill. Strawberry ice, he's giving chills. 5:30 sharp, don't be late. CTV, the sports awaits. Strawberry ice, he's on the mic, energy, it's pure delight.
Hey guys, what's going on? Welcome to the show. This is Sports with Strawberry Ice. I'm your host, the Iceman, Jeff Tronopole. And as always, I bring you sports from a West Side point of view right here in the great city of Cincinnati, Ohio. As I'm coming to you live from the Ice Cave. And as always, this show and every show is brought to you by some of the most wonderful sponsors in the world. If I can ever get my mouse to work, I'm going to bring out here what I'm here right now. It is T Properties. Quality housing for quality people. Check them out at www.tpropertiesllc.com for all your rental property management needs and your rental needs. What is up to everybody in the chat? We got Brad's in there, Paul Painter's in there, Tony Blazon's in there. What's going on, guys? You guys are blowing the chat up. I appreciate it. We'll get to our guest here in just a minute, but we got some Reds news here. The Reds signed former Red Wade Miley to a minor league deal today. Miley's coming back from Tommy John surgery. Should be good to go by spring training. The surgery was in May. I think this is a good move. It's a veteran move. We got a lot of young pitchers. If Miley can come back to what he was, which he was never a fireballer anyway, maybe he could be a starting pitcher for us, and we can add to the bullpen. Maybe come out of that. I don't know. But the Reds did make another trade today. They traded with the San Francisco Giants for Braxton Roxby, I think I say his name right. But it is interesting what Nick Krall has done this offseason. We've all been waiting for things to happen, and silently, I think, he's actually done a fairly decent job. You got right-handed pitcher Brady Singer, infielder Gavin Lux, outfielder Austin Hayes, catcher Jose Trevino, left-handed pitcher Wade Miley, and left-handed pitcher Taylor Rogers. I don't know why I said Braxton. Taylor Rogers. I wrote it down wrong. Anyway, Taylor Rogers is the guy they got. I'm very happy with these as long as everybody stays healthy. That was one of the biggest problems we had last year, is staying healthy. And we will find out pitchers and catchers report here very shortly. And for my wrestling nerds like me, we got Royal Rumble coming up this weekend. And it just was announced that Triple H is going to be inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame. I think that's awesome. He had no idea about it. Stephanie surprised him with it, so that's for my my wrestling geeks. Now, one thing I do want to get to, unfortunately, Bengals news. And it's not the news we want to hear from Duke Tobin. We all want them to sign Trey Henderson. We all want to sign T. But Duke, for some reason, decided that this was a good thing to say today to Kelsey Conway. And I quote Duke Tobin on Trey Henderson: "We can't have every guy at the top of the payroll in every position. We will do what we can. We will do what we feel is right, and we will try to get Trey re-signed." Again, that's from Kelsey Conway. Not a good look, not what we're wanting to hear. You would not have the highest paid player at every single position. We're talking about 3 guys: T, Jamar, and Trey. You already paid Joe. He's quarterback. You're going to pay him. We're talking about 3 guys, 3 really good players. Who else are you paying? There is no other big contracts on this team. To me, it's a no-brainer. I'm hoping it's more of contract negotiation than he actually believes this, because we don't have the top players at every single position. If we did, we'd be in the Super Bowl. Anyway, let's get to my co-host for today before we get to our great guest. He is one of the boys. He is my brother from another mother. And I'm not sure what it is. He's Neil Meyer. Hang on, Neil. The mouse is working very slow today. It's working its way over there. There you go. What's going on, Neil?
What's going on? How are you guys?
Good, man. So what's your thoughts on what Duke said and the Reds' moves today before we get to our guest?
Yeah, I think the comments were probably something that everybody kind of expected from Duke Tobin, obviously saying they would like to get Trey Hendrickson extension done, but it's kind of a matter of time and all that kind of money aspects. I think the biggest priority for Cincinnati right now is locking down Jamar Chase. I think everybody knows that. You get that extension done, I think Trey Hendrickson will shortly follow. But, I mean, like you guys said before the show, I mean, he's kind of played his way into a role. He's played his way into a raise. Duke Tobin even said that as well. And, I mean, he's arguably one of the best defensive linemen in the NFL. Defensive edge rushers, maybe is the best defensive edge rusher.
No sacks. That helps.
Yeah, he led the NFL with sacks this season. He was up there last year. He's earned the pay raise, to say the least, but
definitely.
I'm not too surprised by the comments saying.
Unfortunately, I'm not either. Just irritating.
Yeah, no, it can definitely be very frustrating as a Bengals fan or a Cincinnati sports fan in general, because you see what these teams are doing right now. Philadelphia, prime example. They have 6 guys on their roster that are making $20 million a year, and look where they're at, the Super Bowl. Right. So I know Cincinnati's a smaller market than what Philadelphia is, but it just shows that things like that can be done in the NFL.
And we can't just keep letting our best players walk out the door.
Exactly.
Jesse Bates, DJ Reader, 2 examples. I really don't. I mean, Trey's going to be here next year regardless. His contract goes to them. But let's get into that in a little bit. Let's get to our guest right now. He is the author of the book. Again, my mouse doesn't want to work. Why? See, I don't get this. It like moves and it like totally jumps off the screen. It's very annoying. Come on, move. There we go. He's author of the book, A Level Playing Field. Let's bring him on. I'm not going to try to say his last name. Got screwed it up last time. I'll just call him Al. Al, what is going on, my man?
Hey.
Yep, I took you out.
Guys, just following all your Reds and Bengals news.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I got to get the picture of the book off there so we see your face now. So, tell us a bit about the book, The Level Playing Field.
Leveling the Playing Field. The subtitle is Women Breaking Barriers in Major League Baseball Coaching and Leadership. You know, I pay attention to all the sports news, and I saw something pop up. This is probably 2 years ago, maybe 2.5 years ago, about women coaching in the MLB.
Okay.
And I said, I haven't heard much about that. That's interesting. I want to learn more. I want to go read the book. There wasn't a book.
There wasn't a book.
Now, to us authors, that's music to our ears. That says, write the book.
Right.
I was told one time, the advice that I got was write the book that you want to read. Well, guess what? I wanted to read that book. It wasn't there, so I decided to write the book. It's very much a book about the journeys, the stories, the pathways that a lot of these women coaches have taken to get to the MLB. It's a book about inclusion and gender equity. And I was never loud about that before. I am now, obviously. But learning about these women and their platforms and their desires and their goals and their past and their stories and accomplishment was incredible. I interviewed maybe, 12 or 13. When I first started doing this, there were probably, in 2020, there were 5 women coaches in the MLB. In 2023, there were 43. So we've come that far. Doesn't sound like a lot, but when you compare it to 2011, when there were 0, that's come a long way.
Right.
So I wanted to understand more about this and understand the stories and follow it. And I started seeing all these women coaches pop up online that were doing things with MLB, with Team USA, with programs for kids and youth programs. And I just dove headfirst into it.
Right.
And these women that I talked to helped me dive headfirst into it. And they were all very open, answered a lot of questions, gave me a lot of insights, and shared with me some really, really cool stories.
That's good. How hard is it for women to break into professional baseball as coaches? I mean, I hope it's a little easier than it used to be, but it's still probably a difficult trek for them to get there.
Well, it is easier than it used to be, for sure, because now when you talk to a general manager or whoever makes those decisions, they know about it, they've heard about it, they've seen the names, they've seen the trends. So by virtue of that, it's easier to at least get the conversation. The MLB and some of these teams have programs. And I'm going to tell you a story about one young lady who did an on-field interview. And on-field interview is what she called it, and it turned out to be very favorable. And there's more and more of that kind of thing going on. When I tell you some of the entry levels that these girls went through, it's things like video intern. It's things like strength and conditioning intern. And notice the word intern, that means unpaid.
Yeah, free.
And a lot of these girls,
me and Neil know about those. We did those unpaid interns. We were trying to break into this business.
Yep.
And these girls could care less about pay. They just are diehard baseball people. Notice I said baseball and not softball. When you and I talk about girls in baseball or in sports, we think about softball.
Right.
In the course of my interviews, if you mentioned softball to any of these girls, it was taboo. Hands off. It's baseball. Some of them came up playing baseball with Little League Baseball boys, not softball.
Right.
I had one coach tell me my parents tried to force ballet on me, and I said, heck no, I want to play baseball with the boys. So it's baseball, baseball, baseball.
Awesome. Neil, what do you got?
Yeah, man. So obviously, talking about your book here, what really inspired you to become an author and then really find your passion within the sports industry, Al?
Well, all my life, I've been a diehard Bengals and Reds fan. Jeff can attest to that.
Yes, we feel your pain.
I was born and raised in Cincinnati. I live in Phoenix now. And throughout my life, I always did something related to communication, managing teams, managing people. My background is all marketing, so it was coming up with messages and hitting target markets between the eyes and things like that. And when you develop content for that kind of stuff, you start writing. And I found out that I liked it and it was easy. So I just kept writing. And then I entered the professional world and was a business owner. And I said, how do you really make money in this business? And they said, you become the expert. I said, well, I am the expert. How do I let people know that? They said, you write a book. So in 2005, I wrote my first book, and it was highly successful. It was business related. It wasn't baseball or sports related. And I wrote, I don't know, probably, I lose count, 5 or 6 more marketing books after that. So it was easy. It worked. It was leveraging my business. That's why I wrote. And then I got to a point where I said, you know, I like business. I'm successful. I'm having fun, but I want to write something about my passion, and that was baseball. So after a couple non-business, non-baseball books, I jumped in and wrote my first baseball book probably 3 or 4 years ago. It's called Baseball Confidential. And that took off, and it was pretty easy. Yeah, there it is.
Yep.
It was about communication between players, between coaches,
Mound visits. Yep.
pitching mound visits, and things like that. So I talked to a dozen players. One of my favorites that I talked to was Brett Boone. He gave me some great Aaron Boone stories that I couldn't publish, but but that was kind of fun, and that was kind of cool. And being a sports junkie, I was now close to the game, and I was becoming a baseball person, a baseball guy. And then
awesome.
I wrote a book after that called Managing the Show, which is about baseball general managers. And I talked to a dozen general managers, sat with Nick Kroll at an Arizona Diamondbacks game to interview him for the book. And that book took off. And then that led me to Leveling the Playing Field, which is the third baseball book, ahead of the fourth baseball book coming out in June, but I'll save that for June, Jeff. I'll be back to you.
Sounds good.
It's about Cincinnati Negro League baseball.
Oh, cool.
So all this time, I'm just really, Neil, to answer your question, a diehard sports guy, turning my communication skills into a passion. And now I write for fun. I'm retired, and all I do is travel and write. And just since I'm a marketer, I love doing things like this and telling people about it and sharing, in this case, a message. So that's really the background there.
So I want to test my own trivia here. The Cincinnati Negro League, weren't they the Cincinnati Tigers?
That's exactly right.
Woo! Look at that. I knew that.
Yep.
I knew I was right.
You're about to read all about them come June 10th. That book releases.
Sounds good. I'll be interested to see that one. So, or not see that, read that one. Who is the most interesting person you interviewed for your latest book here?
I ranked them just the other day. Somebody asked me that same question, and to rank one is tough, but I ranked the top 3.
Okay.
And I thought one of your early questions would be, did you interview anybody associated with the Cincinnati Reds?
I was getting there.
Yeah. And I happened, there is one, and
Okay.
she was one of my favorites. Her name's Taylor Jackson. Taylor is I have to get the wording right. She is the performance coach, is her title, with the single A affiliate Daytona Tortugas.
Yeah, Tortugas, yeah.
Easy for you to say. And she's got a path. She was one of the first wave of female coaches. She started, like I said, as a video coordinator with the Greenville Drive, kind of a semi-famous minor league team for the Boston Red Sox. And she worked with the dugout coach. She went to the Tortugas, and she works with strength coaches, the sports science department, and some on-field responsibilities. And in talking to these girls, a lot of them come this same way. And I started hearing about departments that I didn't know exist, like the sports science department. I knew of that, but I didn't know it was a department. And some of these girls work in that. And she was working for the Greenville Drive, and one of her college coaches had connections at the Boston Red Sox.
Ooh.
And they put her in touch with them, and she got a job. It's amazing the network. I went to a networking event last year here in Scottsdale, and I met so many baseball people. I was then part of the baseball field. I wish I'd have known this 30 years ago. I'd have switched career.
So I have a question about the girl you interviewed.
Yeah.
What does a performance coach do? I'm kind of curious on what her job actually is.
She gave me some descriptions. Let me see if I can find it. During the game, she's in uniform. She helps in the dugout. She's in the bullpen, works with relief pitchers, and basically she gave me 2 descriptions. She does anything that the manager wants her to do.
Okay.
And that's kind of a good position to be in, because then you're seen by a lot of people.
Right.
And the second thing is, she brought up this concept of being a 4th coach. You know, they got the manager, the first base coach, the third base coach. Now in the minor leagues, many times the manager is the third base coach.
Right.
But in her situation, she was the 4th coach. And it wasn't it wasn't uncommon for her to coach first base. She also talked about when she works with players, I mean, she's given them nitty-gritty hitting instructions that you and I think we know, but until you get into the nitty-gritty, we don't know.
To break it all down, right?
Yeah, and she does. And she's telling them how to hold her thumb, how to hold their second knuckle, and all this stuff that you and I take for granted, but they're into that. And this is a female, young, 22-year-old coach coaching minor league players. So the next logical question is, well, what do the players think of this? And she says it's not, they don't even recognize a gender difference. If she says, and I'm giving you some of the generalizations from the other coaches too. If you're there and you show care that you want to help somebody improve, all these people have the same goal, to get to the big league.
Yeah, I don't think they care where it comes from.
If you're helping them get to the big leagues, they love you, they respect you, they recognize you as a coach, whether you're male or whether you're female. And I heard that loud and clear a lot.
Neil, you got something?
Yeah, obviously, speaking of the women in the MLB, there's a couple that are now stepping into the roles of the GM just after writing this book and seeing the women take over some of these big time roles in the MLB. Just what's your thoughts on all that kind of aspect as well, and how that's evolving in society nowadays?
The first one was Kim Ng, spelled NG, at the Miami Marlins. She has since left. There's a chapter in the book on her. I never could get in touch with her to talk to because she's just too big. And I couldn't.
Wait. You're Al. She doesn't know who you are? What the heck? Come on now.
No. My friend Derek Jeter couldn't put me in touch.
What the hell? Gosh.
But anyway, she was the first.
Right.
And now there are more than coaches, women in front office positions. I interviewed Marty Ronsky for the Milwaukee Brewers. She's the chief operating officer. She used to be the chief legal person. So she knows all about contracts. She knows all about people. She knows nothing about baseball.
She's a lawyer.
She's the chief operating officer. Just a little tidbit. I don't know if you remember it, but the Milwaukee Brewers used to have a mascot dog named Hank.
Oh, yeah? I don't remember that now.
She was the caretaker for Hank. Anyway,
okay.
That's a side point that I picked up. But to answer your question, Neil, I think it's a good thing. The more I get into this, the more I realize it doesn't matter whether you're male or female. You just have to fight through what everybody else's stigma is.
Yeah, I think it's like you said before, players don't care. If you're there to help them improve, to get to where they want to go, that's all they care about.
Absolutely.
To be honest. They got one goal, is to get to the majors. So, and if these women can help them do that, because I mean, the women want to get there too. So if they can help them, they can help each other get there. So, how can people find the book, and what other interesting tidbits do you like to share about the book? You got any quirky stories or anything like that?
Yeah. The book's available at your regular bookseller, whoever you buy books from. However, this book is released next Tuesday.
Okay.
So if you go to Amazon today, it's going to be a pre-order and you'll get it next Tuesday. But after next Tuesday, you can get it from Amazon, Barnes & Noble, any place that you buy books, your bookstore. And I always recommend people buy 4 in case they lose 3.
Buy more books, people.
No, but just anywhere that you want. And then my website is alwritesbaseball.com. You can always come through there. You can contact me. I'm easily accessible. I'm online everywhere. or they can contact you and you can put them in touch with me. But it's pretty accessible wherever you buy books.
I'm really jealous of your office there, all the red stuff in the background.
You like that?
Yeah.
I told you I'm a diehard.
So I know we talked last time. You're out in Arizona, and we got spring training starting up here soon. You're going to be doing your ushering job again there. So
Yeah.
do you ever run into? You got any silly stories of people you ran into? I think you ran into Marty Brenneman out there one time, didn't you?
Marty and I became really, really tight friends, and I still am to this day. And his wife, Amanda. Before every game, Marty and I used to walk 2 laps around Goodyear Field just to get our steps in. And we had some good stories exchanged back and forth. So he and I became a good friend. I've met all the media people. Believe it or not, I think it was 3 years ago, I met Terry Francona as an Indians manager.
Yeah.
So little did I know that he would soon become a Reds manager.
And thank God for that. I will say that. So as a baseball man and a Reds fan, what's your feeling on this season? I mean, I'm starting to get a little more excited than I was about a week ago. I'm starting to get a little more pumped up about this team and Terry Francona.
I am too, because of all the obvious things. But when you start looking, and I'm not a metrics guy, I'm not an analytics guy, but when you start looking at how many one-run games the Reds lost last year and how many injuries they piled up, and a lot of extraneous factor, and that's called baseball, by the way. That's not excuses.
It happens.
But when you add up all those extraneous factors, and then you look at some of these tweaks that Nick Krall just did, I'm very optimistic.
Me too.
Obviously, we're all biased, but I don't care.
A little bit.
I'm very optimistic, and I look at some of the strategies that the media has already put forth with predicting the starting lineup and who's going to go to the minor league and who's going to leave the 40-man roster, and all of those dynamics all point in the right direction.
Yeah, it means you have too much talent. You have too much talent, which is good. I always take that.
And that's the case last year. But you look what happened with the injuries, and you looked at what happened with a crowded infield becoming less than crowded.
Right.
So you got to plan for those. I mean, you can't plan for those, but you got to have at least some resources to back you up. So I'm optimistic.
All right, so I got to get my New York Yankees fan in here. Augie, he's dying to know, how did you become friends with Derek Jeter?
I get questions a lot about how I made contact with all these people that I've interviewed, whether it's a female coach, a baseball general manager, Brett Boone. And I'll tell you, believe it or not, the world of social media has accelerated that, has made that a big thing. And I told you I went to this baseball event last year during spring training, and I started networking with performance coaches, strength coaches, all these people behind the scenes, and then they can put you in touch with players. They had one event I went to was a celebrity bartending event. Ooh. And I got to meet Brett Suter.
Oh, nice.
I got to meet a couple other players, and you just leverage that into meeting other players.
That's what I do. Yeah, that's how I get people on here.
I've become good friends with Hal McCoy, who writes for the Dayton Daily News.
And Al, if you ever want to send any of those guys my way, you got my email. You can just
And I just networked my way into finding somebody who knows somebody who knows somebody who puts me in touch.
There you go. Neil, what's your thoughts on the Reds this season, and anything that if you got another question for Al?
Yeah, I'm excited for them. Obviously, it's kind of interesting to see them make moves this time of year, something that us Cincinnati fans are not really used to.
Not lately, we're not.
Yeah, but to see the moves they're making, you get Gavin Lux, you go and get Brady Singer, you go out and get Taylor Rogers, Austin Hayes, another one. Then you make the other moves that they have, bringing Wade Miley back. I think that's a good move for them. But on top of it, just to see that they're active, they might not be the biggest name guys, but they bring MLB experience and the veteran experience, which is something this team kind of needs, especially with all the younger guys on this roster.
Remember what I told you at the beginning, Jeff, before the show? I said this was an above average year for an
Oh.
above average Nick Kroll year.
Yeah. I mean, funny, Alice, just yesterday, I had Jeff Carr on the show, and they announced the signing of Austin Hayes, and I'm like, this offseason's been kind of eh. I'm like, I mean, it's been good, but not, great. It's been I would say it's like a B. But then, I don't know, getting Wade Miley, which I know Wade Miley is hurt. I loved Wade Miley when he pitched for the Reds. I mean, this could be that could be a bigger move than people think. This team needs veteran leadership, especially on that pitching staff. And like I said, he wasn't a fireballer before. And Tommy John usually come back. Sometimes they come back throwing harder than they used to now. But Wade could come back and he could teach these guys some stuff. That move excites me. That we finally added to the bullpen. We still need to add some more to the bullpen, I think. That is still a weak spot on this team. But more, he does stuff, and it doesn't. I don't know. I got to think he's not done yet. I don't know. There's still
behind the scenes locker room presence, chemistry among the players is so big and not even paid attention to by most fans. And you look at Brett Suter, you look at Nick Martinez, now you look at Wade Miley. Mm-hmm. That's huge.
Yeah.
Plus what they already have, Spencer Steer and those kind of guys.
Now, something is telling me with the move of Taylor Rogers that there might be something boiling with Alexis Diaz that could shock some people.
They still got that closer out there. I can't remember his name off the top of my head that they were talking about signing. So
Gonzalez,
yeah, Gonzalez. So I mean, I'm with you. I could see something maybe package up Diaz, and I've been talking about all offseason, package up him and Spencer Steer for maybe some more bullpen help. I don't know. I mean, I got a feeling that we're getting close to. Well, obviously we're getting close to spring training, and guys are getting itchy. I haven't got a contract yet because Al, when we were younger, contracts happened way before this. Now it seems like it doesn't really start. The hot stove, at least for the Reds, doesn't really get fired up till January, February, where the big names really start coming in. So the next couple of weeks, even in training camp, they're gonna or spring training, they're gonna bring people in. I think it's gonna be very interesting though. I'm very
excited. Go till the first day of the season.
Yeah, we just got to stay healthy. Now, the thing is, for me, and I keep talking about Steer because I still, and there was another story out that Jeff Carr put out there that they might be trading for an infielder or third baseman from the Los Angeles Angels. The thing is, I don't think third base is set in stone. You got a couple guys who can do it. Like you could put Matt McLean over there. You could put Lux. You could put Steer over there. Hell, you could put Ellie over there. There's lots of guys you could put over there. But I don't know if they have one guy that they're solid, that's our third baseman. If that's where I'm like, you never know. There might be another trade in the works. But I would be okay with, we kind of talked about moving Elliott to third. You can keep Elliott short. You have Lux at second, and you put McLean at third. That puts Steer out in the outfield, TJ Friedel in center, and Hayes in right. That's a pretty darn good defensive team right there. And that was one of the biggest problems with the Reds last year. One, staying healthy. Two, we couldn't catch the ball.
Yeah, duh.
Yeah, you got to be able to catch. You got to be able to, two things that travel: pitching and defense. You got to be able to do both of them. So, anyway, we'll see what happens. I'm excited about it. Al, you have fun out there in Arizona and enjoy spring training. Tell Marty I said hi. Tell him to come on my show or any other Reds you see out there.
I can make that happen.
Yeah, you got my email. Just tell him to come this way.
Okay,
I'll get him on there. Al, again, real quick, tell everybody where they can find your book again before I let you go.
Leveling the Playing Field at your favorite bookseller.
Get it on it. I was going to pop the picture up if I get my mouse to work.
Leveling the Playing Field, women breaking barriers in Major League Baseball coaching and leadership. It's a quick read. It's a good read. I just participated in a girls U12 to U14 baseball tournament here in Arizona in December. And nice. I set up a stand of books and sold them out because it tells the path of all these girls that want to stay in baseball, want to work in baseball, want to be a manager in baseball, how these girls got there. And that's what's so cool about this.
That's awesome. Al, appreciate you, man. And everybody go buy his book. And I'll see you in June, right? That's when you're going to come back on again with your next book?
Yeah. It's called Cincinnati Soul.
Ooh. I can't
The
wait to read
story
it.
about the Cincinnati Tigers, Cincinnati Cubans, and other Cincinnati Negro League baseball.
Awesome. Again, go get this book. It's a great read. Al, enjoyed it, man. Thank you very much.
All right, good to see you guys. Thank you very much.
Take it
No
easy.
problem. Thanks, Al.
There we go. Yeah, my mouse is killing me today.
Hey, you're struggling over there.
Yeah, well, you move it and it doesn't freaking move. It's like, get over there. Anyway. All right, so let's get into some of the stuff we were talking about, and we can get into the Bearcats later on. We talked about the Reds already. I do want to talk a little bit more about what Duke Tobin said. We started talking about it a little bit when the show started. And to me, it is, unfortunately, it's expected because Duke is, famously said we're not into making other teams better when he talked about trading T. Higgins, which I agreed with at the time, which I still agree with. I don't think you trade T. Higgins. I think you sign him. Same way, I don't think you just let Trey Henderson walk and come in here and play on a one-year contract. You got to get him extended. And they said they can't have the highest paid player at every position. And I have a problem with that statement.
You just did it this year.
Yeah. And you're only talking about three guys. Because you already counted Joe. Joe's on the books. We're talking about not even adding, extending T, extending Jamar, and extending Trey. That's all we're talking about doing. Guys that are already on your team, that you drafted, you developed, they were on the Super Bowl run with you. They've been on the run with you the last couple of years to the AFC Championship game, to the Super Bowl, all that. We can't keep having guys walk out the door. And to me, it's like, you got the money. And, we're going to sign some free agents. And the salary cap is going to be pretty big, especially if they go ahead and they release a couple guys like Rankins, if they release Geno Stone, if they release Pratt, which these are all guys, I don't know if they're going to or not, but these are all guys that are potential cuts. And that just adds to the salary cap. This statement is frustrating to me, Neil. It's just irritating that I wish you just would try to say we're going to do everything in our power to sign Trey. Not, we don't want to, he's already making a serious. We don't want to spend the money and pay the highest guy in every position. That's just not what we want to hear. When I'm sitting to try to tell everybody that the Bengals aren't cheap, well, that sounds like a freaking cheap-ass move right there.
Yeah, no, most certainly. And you know what? The Bengals wouldn't have to worry about spending all this money in free agency if they could just hit on a draft class. So,
well, this past draft class, I think they did pretty good, except for with Eric All and and Jermaine Burton, the two they took chances on didn't pan out. But everybody else has been pretty good.
I thought the Eric All reach in the fifth round. I thought that was a great reach. Obviously, he was playing some of his best ball of his career. And then the ACL happens, and it's unfortunate. It was the same knee that has only been healed for just a couple months, and an ACL injury that he was 2 or 3 months ahead of time even being out there. Mm-hmm. So that sucks that it was a more complicated surgery, and he's now expected to miss a whole nother year. But for Cincinnati, I wouldn't say it handcuffs you to another year of Drew Sample, but I mean, you can keep him at a veteran. You can
sign Gesicki.
Sign Mike Gesicki again. It's going to be interesting to see how they kind of attack that. But overall, that's the injury that I think kind of hurts Cincinnati the most. And then obviously Jermaine Burton's situation is dismantling. It's an awful situation. You reached high third round, first round draft grade. You get him in the third round. He could just never get on the field because of off the field things. So overall, if things don't go well in this class for him, and I see Augie's comment there, if you think another 9-8 season or worse, do you think his seat's on the hot seat? I don't think it's on the hot seat, but it's definitely going to be interesting, and a lot of fans will be frustrated if that's the outcome again this season.
Zach's will be more on the hot seat than Duke's, I think. Yeah. Duke's been here forever. I don't even remember when Duke actually, because they were just all of a sudden Duke was there. He was all of a sudden the player development. There wasn't a press conference or anything. He's the de facto GM, we all call him. He just came up into that role. So I think Duke's basically got a freaking lifetime job, if you ask me.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to get rid of your director of player development in the NFL right now, especially when he's been there for so long and he's came up with the organization. But if they go 9-8 this season, I don't expect Duke Tobin to be on the hot seat. I would expect more of it to be on Zach Taylor.
Yeah, especially like I said before, since Zach is the one. I said, believe it if you want to, but Zach said the firing of all the defensive coordinators and everybody was his call. So, and Zach did not have to put that out there. He took it on his own shoulders. I mean, I believe Zach. I think it was his call. So, with that being said, to me, that makes him on the hot seat. Now, I don't really want to do this, but we're going to have to. But let's start targeting some Bearcats here. And what in the hell are they doing? I mean, I kind of said it yesterday that it's scary. I mean, it's scary what they're doing. Not scary good, scary like what? Like I don't understand how you had this much talent and you're playing so good in your non-conference. Which are non-conference, there were some fairly good teams, at least we thought. But I guess the Villanova game was one to show us what was to come. We hope they would improve from that. But they're getting worse. It doesn't make any sense what's going on with them.
I think the easiest thing to say right now for them, Jeff, is 2 words: confidence and soft. That's the
soft
biggest.
For sure. Definitely soft.
If you look down at Cincinnati right now, after they lost to Utah last night, and think about it, Jeff, you lose a game by 3 points, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where you had ample opportunities from the foul line. You get the early technical foul from Ezra Asar. Seamoss goes empty from the line there. Can't convert out of that technical foul possession, so you come up empty there. You go to the line 3 times down the final 4 minutes with 1-and-1 opportunities, and you miss the front end of all 3. In a game where free throws are so critical and close games like that, that's the difference maker. And on top of it, you got Utah to turn the ball over 20 times. Cincinnati only turned the ball over 5 times. And when the team turns the ball over 20 times, you should be expecting more than 19 points off turnovers.
Right. And that's the thing. It's like
that's averaging 1 point per possession. And in that aspect, you're basically going 50% of your possessions there with a bucket or anything. You got to be able to get 14 of those 20 turnovers or whatever it was to be stops. You got to be scoring more than a 50% clip at that rate.
It's like I said yesterday, there's nothing this team can hang their hat on. There's no identity. Like Mick Cronin's team, Bob Huggins's teams were all defense or rebounding, and we'll figure out how to score. There is no, if they get the defense and the offense, then they can't make their free throws. Or if they get the offense, then their defense fails. It's always something. And it looked like the free throw shooting was starting to come around. But then critical times, big moments, that's when you got to bear down and make these shots. They're called free throws. They're free. There's nobody in front of you. Knock them down. And Seamoss Lukosius has went backwards. I don't know what is going on with him. He is not looking for a shot. He's passing up open shots. He's taking terrible shots. I like, is Neil, like Brad said, Neil wants to know, is there issues in the locker room? I mean, what's going on? There's something not right with this team. And if West doesn't figure it out soon, I don't think he's going to be the coach of the Bearcats next year.
I don't think it's any issues in the locker room. I just simply think it's confidence right now. And I mean, everyone's always going to be looking into the conspiracies of, oh, well, if Cincinnati loses X, Y, and Z game the rest of the way out, despite starting 2-7 in conference play, everyone's looking for the motto of, is Wes Miller going to be on the hot seat next year? Well, he just signed an extension. The buyout is expensive. So, I mean, on top of it, I don't think he will be on the hot seat. I mean, it's going to be interesting to see how they transpires over the next few games, but you're on the midst of a 3-game losing streak. You go into Sunday with a very good West Virginia team who has topped off the number 1 and number 2 team in the country this year. If they can find a way to defend home court and get a win there, maybe momentum starts to swing back in their favor. But in order for them to even make the NCAA tournament right now, Jeff, they're going to have to win West Virginia, UCF, BYU, and Utah again. They're going to have to find ways to get 4 of the next 5. And then on top of it, you're going to have to steal 1 versus Baylor. You're going to have to go to Houston and try to play down there.
We ain't beating Houston.
Everybody knows the back half of the schedule, it's kind of heavy in terms of strength of schedule. Like, it's not an easy back half of the schedule. And the middle half right here was where Cincinnati was expected to kind of make their chunk into this season. But it's going to be interesting to see how this thing plays out. But for me, when I say soft, Jeff, I mean, you're looking down at it. This is a team who was, I believe they were 6th in the country last year, if I remember right, in terms of offensive rebounding and just rebounding as a whole. This season, they have been out-rebounded 7 straight games in Big 12 play. You got out-rebounded by 20 last night.
That's ridiculous.
20.
That can't happen.
Dan Skilling's looking at the stats right now, had 1 rebound for the 2nd straight game. AP, 1 rebound. Your 7-footer only had 3 rebounds. Dylan Mitchell is your only interior player who is crashing the glass. And I mean, we saw it firsthand with the putback dunk. So, I mean, outside of that, it's like Cincinnati's got to find a way to be aggressive. They got to find a way to attack the rim. I think Dan's still kind of, I don't know how to really say it, but outside, I think it's the mental aspect. Obviously, that was the first injury for Dan in his playing career. So it's kind of thinking like, maybe is he trying to get over that mental block and to getting back to the way he was, crashing the boards or whatnot. But Cincinnati's going to need him on the boards, especially down the back half of conference play, to say the least.
Yeah, and it's one thing that somebody said in the chat yesterday when I was talking about this. It's when we take our outside shots, there's one guy, if we're lucky, under the basket to even get in position to rebound the ball. Like, nobody is crashing the boards. Everybody's just sitting there watching the ball go in or watching the ball go out. It doesn't go in. They're hoping it's going in, but it doesn't go in. And they need to be running straight toward the backboard to try to get in position to rebound the ball. And there's no aggressiveness. And that's, again, to your point, soft. And the defensive intensity, I think, has been soft. And we weren't soft last year. I mean, that's the thing that I don't get. Like last year, we had a lot of games like last night where we lost by 3 points and we missed free throws or whatever. That happened a lot last year. The games before that, like the one BYU Saturday night, like, dude, I watched it. Through the first half, I had to turn it off. I'm like, I can't sit there and watch it. And I love the Bearcats. But I was getting so frustrated. I'm like, I can't put myself through this because they're going to lose this game. And they did. And if I can sit here and they're at BYU, and I sit here in the ice cave and sit here watching the game going, they're going to lose. That's not good. You know? Wes has got to figure something out. And the thing is, like, he's Roy Williams' mentor, you know? Or Roy Williams is his mentor. Roy Williams is at almost 90% of the Bearcats' home games. Wes, hey, Roy, what can help? What's going on here? There's got to be some kind of motivation or something going on here because it just seems like the guys are like Wes said, eventually the lid will come off the basket. They think eventually they keep doing what they're doing, it's going to work. And if you can't keep what you're doing isn't good enough. You know, you gotta do something different. What are they doing in practice and stuff to try to compensate for this?
I think right now the biggest thing they're trying to work on is just staying together and in the locker room. I think that's the biggest thing, is finding a way to kind of steer the ship back into the positive direction. But on top of it, like you mentioned, I mean, the lid came off for some of the individuals. I mean, Jizzle James went through that horrendous stretch at the beginning of the season, and now you look down, Jeff, you see him in double figures 3 of the last 4. He had 18 last night versus Utah. He had an off night versus BYU, but he was there versus Arizona State, and he was there in the game prior. So overall, I mean, to see Jizzle James come back to his full self is a great sight to see. But it's for Cincinnati, it's kind of like when one of them is going,
yeah. When
Jizzle is going, Dan and CMOS are off. Mm-hmm. Or if CMOS is on, Dan and Jizzle are off. If Dan's on, vice versa. They got to find a way to put all 3 together in terms of volume, because you know what you're going to get from Dylan Mitchell and Aziz Bandego on the
But Dylan Mitchell should be a 20-10 guy every night.
He very well could be.
He should be. I mean, I don't see the reason why. Maybe not 20 points, but at least 10 rebounds every night. He's got to be that for the Bearcats. He has to be that for the Bearcats.
Especially in the situation they're in now. I bet you they're going to up the pressure on him a little bit more. But for Cincinnati, I mean, they just have to simply find ways to get back to establishing their presence on the glass. I mean, everyone's kind of talking about it. I know I've had people reach out in my Instagram DMs, my Twitter DMs, talking UC sports. They're like, what would this team be if they still had Jamil Reynolds, Victor Locken, per se? Like, not saying it actually happened, but they're like, look at what they're doing this season. Well, Victor Locken down there in Clemson right now is averaging 10 points, 6 rebounds, 49% from the field. Jamil Reynolds is averaging 12 points and 7 rebounds, despite USF being in a lower conference. Vic needed a new start. Everyone kind of knew that. Mm-hmm. But, I mean, Cincinnati added the pieces this offseason, and it's just the results are not transpiring. Like, you look down on paper, and this was arguably the best roster since 2018, 2019.
Oh, absolutely. There's nothing wrong with the talent on this team. It's not a talent issue for me.
And this is where, Jeff, I'll come out and say it too. I know I've said it on a couple other shows. This is where the injury to Tyler McKinley hurts the Bearcats more than expected.
Right.
Because not only does that give you another big front court player, McKinley has such a unique game. He's able to step out, knock down a three. He can shoot very well. I've seen him go through some shooting workouts, can really shoot from behind the arc. He has that deep ball ability. He's basically a stretch four. So it's going to be interesting to see, kind of sit back at the end of the year and go, okay, what would have this Cincinnati team maybe been like if Tyler McKinley didn't get hurt? Because he was poised to make an impact. I mean, Wes Miller and them already said before the injury, he was way ahead of where people thought he would be and was potentially going to make an impact on this team. But Cincinnati's just got to find a way to get out of this rut and do it fast, because if you lose on Sunday, Jeff, it's going to be interesting to see how the fans respond. Obviously, you have West Virginia coming in town. I don't know if Huggs will be there. I would not be surprised if Huggs makes an appearance. I'm not saying he will, but I would not be surprised if Huggs is back in Cincinnati this weekend for this matchup, obviously, due to the history of both programs. But Cincinnati's got to find a way. And if they don't, they're losing 4 straight. It's going to be interesting to see what kind of fan support will be there on Sunday. If they lose 4 straight, it's going to be interesting to see that aspect for the rest of the year.
If they lose 4 straight, the fans are going to quickly turn on Wes. I'll tell you that right now. They're already frustrated because, like I said before, I started this season thinking, we're at worst case a tournament team. I thought at least we might make the Sweet 16. Best case, Elite 8 was what I was thinking back in September, October, November. And it looked like it until we started Big 12 tournament. So this has been a huge disappointment for me as far as how I thought this team would play. What are just in your heart of hearts, what's your chances of them, do you think, or what's the percentages of them actually making the tournament right now without having to go out and win the Big 12 tournament? Because you win the Big 12 tournament, you'll get in. But just out of the season here, what's the record do you think got to be for the rest of the season to even have a chance of being on the bubble?
Just to being on the bubble right now, you got 11 games left in conference play right now. You're sitting at 2-7. They're going to have to, Jeff, find a way to maybe end this thing 11-9, 12-8, maybe. But on top of it, I mean, you're looking down at this schedule right now. It's not. It doesn't get
any easier at all.
Especially when you have West Virginia on Sunday. Mm-hmm. Then you have UCF next week, which I'll actually be in Orlando covering that game. So,
Lucky.
And speaking of that UCF game is not an easy win because that UC couldn't play good in Orlando back in the AAC. That was always a tough matchup. Right. And considering UCF just dropped 100 on Kansas last night at Allen Fieldhouse, it's not going to be an easy matchup. BYU's playing the best ball of the year. Then you got to go on the road to Iowa State. You got to go on the road to West Virginia. You welcome in Baylor. You welcome in Houston. I mean, you're going to have to, for them to make the tournament, Jeff, you're going to have to go, I would say for the next 4, it's a guaranteed you would have to do. You would have to steal one of the 2 versus Iowa State and West Virginia on the road. Then you would have to come back home, beat Baylor, and potentially maybe beat Kansas or beat Houston on the road, and then Kansas State at home, or you lose to Houston and you beat TCU and Kansas State and finish Oklahoma. Like, there's not much margin of error for Cincinnati. I think maybe if you lose 2 more games this season, might be a wrap on them making the NCAA tournament.
I mean, the crazy thing is the talent on this team. I believe they can do that. I just haven't seen any. I mean, last night was a little better sign. Only lose by 3 points, but like you said, going down and missing the free throws, which that's a Bearcat thing. We just can't shoot free throws for some reason. But it was a sign of life.
It was a sign of life. I will say that. But for me, Jeff, I'm going to throw this out there. If there's any betting fans looking at, I would be smacking the under in every game Cincinnati played in
Yeah.
Until they prove you wrong, because they've only
Right.
scored over 70 points in conference play one time.
Yeah, and that to me is still, the scoring ability to me has been the biggest surprise and biggest frustration for me, because I knew mixed teams would have a hard time scoring. I knew Bob's teams would have a hard time scoring. I thought Wes's teams would be able to score. And the thing that kills me is when the outside shooting isn't going down consistently, which, let's be honest, it really hasn't happened at any kind of consistent clip this year. And they show no signs of, well, talk about rebounding the ball, or those signs of having any kind of interior game, which I think is a miss on Wes Miller as a coach, because there's everybody in Big 12, almost every team has a inside presence where they can throw the ball down low and score. Not at will, but at least there's a threat to do that. Who's our threat down low? We don't. Aziz Bandego, he's not an offensive threat. Dylan Mitchell is a slasher. We don't have that post player that I think you need in Division I big time basketball.
I think we've seen flashes of it with AP, but AP is still so young, still a raw player. He's only played basketball for, I believe, 4 years. I think he started when he was a sophomore, if I remember right. So, still young, still developing. And obviously, you've seen the flashes of it from AP. There's a lot of potential there. But like you mentioned, there is no post presence where you got a big guy who can put the ball on the floor and go get you a bucket when you need to. No guy like Coriante DeBerry, Trey Scott, or some of those guys in the past, Yancey Gates, as a matter of fact. They're missing that. And you look at Big 12 bigs across the country. Hunter Dickinson, what is he doing? Getting you buckets.
Yeah.
Baylor's got a big that can go get you buckets. Juwan Roberts is averaging 20 points over the last 10 games for Houston. And that was a guy coming off the bench at the beginning of the year. So, you look down, Kansas State, Coleman Hawkins has turned things around. Arizona State's got Jaden Quaitnance, who's going to be a beast in the future. Cincinnati's got to find this guy where they can get back to the old school 250, 260, just big, lean, can just drop a shoulder, take some contact, and get to the rack. That's what they're desperately missing.
That's what we don't, and that's the thing, is that's what scares me. We don't have this.
Because
on this
if
team.
the lob game is not there, realistically, what are you getting from these?
Right, and the thing is, defenses know that's what they want to do. They want to do high pick and roll, screen, roll to the hole, and throw a lob. They know they want to do that. They're defending it now. And that's the thing. It's like, to start our offense, it's a high pick and roll at the top every single time. And then there's no entry pass down low. At least throw the ball down there.
You got to get a paint touch on every possession.
Yeah, at least so maybe drop somebody down to get them off the outside shooter. But nobody's even going down low to even try to defend it if you do throw it down low, because they know they don't score. And that's the part that's just like, I don't know how you fix this. And that's the part that I'm scared about.
Yeah, and there's reasons to be scared, but I think for Cincinnati to be successful towards the end of the season, Dylan Mitchell is shooting 62% from the field. If Cincinnati wants to be successful, you got to find ways to get him touches in the paint.
Yes.
You simply can. You can't hit the high screen and come back around. You throw 4 or 5 passes on the outside of the edge before you start your offense.
Yes.
Then you're working with 10 to 12 seconds of offense. It's going to be hard to get a paint touch when a big in the Big 12 is sitting there with great position like there usually are. So, on top of it, you got to get that paint touch early, because if you get the paint touch early, it's going to open a lot of things up. And maybe that's the secret to get CMOS open. I don't know, but teams are defending the shit out of CMOS.
Yeah. Well, which they're smart. That's the thing. They know from last year he was our shooter. They're not letting him score. And I'm glad finally Jizzle was starting to score. Dan's got to start scoring. Davis got to start scoring. We got to get other guys consistently. And you got to crash the board. And like I said, you got to get some kind of paint touch somehow.
And I think that's the biggest thing too, because Cincinnati, obviously you want the paint touches, but Jizzle James and Day Thomas are two of the best at creating their own shot. Like
but they're not.
They can get that mid-range jumper. They're just not following. But until that shot falls, you got to find ways to get something going. Because if you get them fall inside, and teams are going to have to adjust, they're going to have to sag another guy to come in there and defend on the help side. it's going to open those shots up. But for Cincinnati right now, their offense it's struggling.
It's all outside. You just pass the ball around outside too much. And that you're half the floor in your offensive part of the game. You're not even using, which I mean the paint. They're not using it. And that's the reason. That's another reason why it's hard to get rebounds. If everybody's always on the outside and somebody's shooting from the outside, nobody's down low in position to get a rebound. So if you're not in position to even get one, you're not going to get them. You know, you got to work to get to that.
Especially if you're a team shooting 25, 33s a game.
Yeah.
I mean, 2 of your guys are going to be back on defense before that shot's even up. Right. So, and on top of it, does that really could kind of play a factor too? I mean, obviously not having Connor Hickman. CJ Frederick's now banged up. So it's going to be interesting to see what things kind of go for. But I mean, is it too late to say, like, what could Rayvon Griffith do? Bring him in and let him crash the board. I mean, we see the
it can't be any worse, right?
I mean, Wes Miller talked about it in the offseason about how he was one of the best guys rebounding the basketball. So could that be something they look to? I know he mentioned it last night on the pregame show. Rayvon didn't play, but that might be an option they turn to because they need a spark. Rayvon has shown he can be that spark in practices and whatnot, but they need a spark, and they need it quickly.
If he wasn't going to play, why didn't they just redshirt him? Because I feel they're just burning a year for him for no reason.
Well, they redshirted him last year, so he didn't have.
That's right. They did. Never mind. I forgot about that. Yeah, so they can't. So at least freaking play him.
For people on that aspect too, the red shirt was always the plan for Rayvon last year. Mm-hmm. People don't know that, but the red shirt was always the plan for him last year. So I know people were wondering, like, okay, you get a top 50 recruit, why isn't he playing? The red shirt was always the plan. There were some things they wanted to tweak about his game. His shot was one of them, and the shots changed. But still trying to find that rhythm. And, I mean, unfortunately, when you're behind a guy like Tyler Betsy, you have all these veteran guys and C.J. Frederick, Seamus Lukosha, Stan Skillings. That wing position is just flat out buried. I mean, Josh Reed provides great effort on the defensive end, so it's going to be hard to – it's like who is he going to play over in that aspect? Now with injuries, it might open things up.
You're right, it's buried, but it's buried with guys that we're not winning with. You got a top 50 recruit, throw him out there. I mean, maybe he'll give you a spark. Maybe they got to do something. It's just I'm beyond frustrated if you can't tell. But anyway, hopefully they'll get the win on Sunday. Neil, I appreciate you jumping on. Tell everybody where they can follow you at and what any articles or anything you got out now.
Yeah, so you guys can follow me over at MeyerNeil6 on Twitter. Obviously, you guys probably see that often. The front office news, CincinnatiRivals.com, Bearcat Blitz podcast with Russ Heltman. And I'm actually working on a story about last night's game, some things to take away from that game, obviously, with it being a 12 o'clock tip-off game and me having to work another part-time job this morning at 6 a.m. That article kind of got pushed back to later till today. So that'll be up later tonight with some things to break down and kind of some insight to see on what actually happened last night in Utah. So it's going to be interesting. But, yeah, you guys can check me out on all those kind of platforms.
Neil, I appreciate it, man. Hopefully we'll get this figured out, and I'll see you next time, brother.
Sounds good, man. Thanks for having me, Jeff.
Yep, see ya. I'm on mouse work. There we go. Hope you guys enjoyed that as much as I did. Go check out Neil. He does a great job there at the front office news and covering the Bearcats. And I have really got to get a new mouse. I mean, this is getting ridiculous. I'm clicking on it, and now it's spinning, and nothing wants to work. Anyway, guys, thanks for watching. I've been live streaming on ZTV Online, YouTube, Facebook, X, and Twitch. You can follow me on all those along with Instagram, Threads, and TikTok. And shout out to the sponsors of my show, which are awesome, awesome companies. I highly recommend you try out every single one of them. And they are Priority Lawn and Landscaping. It's starting to get warmer. The grass is going to start growing. You got that springtime landscaping project or anything you want to get done, give Priority Lawn and Landscaping a call at 513-430-6114. Also, check out Midwest's best barbecue and creamery right there at Ward's Corner Avenue exit. Come on, mouse. Come on. Give Tim and Nicole a chance. They are awesome, awesome people, awesome Bengals fans, and they know how to cook barbecue. It is delicious. Get you some CTV wings, some Uno wings. Tell them Ice sent you. Also, the show is brought to you by Meyer Window and Doors. Check them out at www.meyercincinnati.com for all your window and door needs. I got them in my house. I highly recommend you get them in yours. Energy efficient, easy to clean, and they look great. Again, that's Meyer Windows and Doors. www.meyercincinnati.com. Hey, I'm a Westside peeps. Go check out Hail Mary's. It's your ticket to the game. Right there in the heart of Cheviot. You got big ass TV screen, beer specials, food trucks. It's an awesome, awesome place to watch the game. And I cannot get the freaking graphic up there. And my mouse went away again. Come on, go up there. There we go. Again, it's Hail Mary's, your ticket to the game. Go there, drink some beer. Go there for Sunday. Watch the Bearcat game. And if they win, they go back there again. And then if they lose, go back to Hail Mary's anyway and drink your sorrows away. I highly recommend it. Also, if you guys are looking for any rental properties or a rental property management company, I highly recommend T Properties. Quality housing for quality people. Check out the website at www.tpropertiesllc.com for all your rental property management needs and your rental needs. All right, guys, tomorrow on the show, I have John Sheeran. We can discuss some more about this Duke Tobin thing that he, stupidly said about Trey Hendricks. There was no point, no reason to say what he said. You don't have to sit there and say, oh, we don't need to make everybody. Just an irritating comment. Not something I want to hear when I want them to get better. But I believe in the Bengals. I think they're going to get better. We'll see what happens. Check us out tomorrow. All right, you guys have a wonderful day. And that's your sports, baby. See ya!
Weekend nights, the city roars. Tune in loud, turn up some more. Cincinnati show, it's time to play. Sports with strawberry ice today. 5:30 sharp, don't be late. TTV, the sports awaits. Strawberry ices on the mic, energy, it's pure delight. Every touchdown, every goal. Feel the pulse, it's in your soul. Cincinnati heartbeats strong. Strawberry ice will lead the throng. Every touchdown, every goal. Feel the pulse, it's in your soul. Cincinnati heartbeats strong. Strawberry ice will lead the throng. Feel the crowd, it's electric now. Shouting loud, they all know how. The CTV got what we crave. Sports with ice, it's waves and waves. Tigers strike and Bengals roar. Every game we want some more. Tune in and feel the thrill. Strawberry ice, he's giving chills. 5:30 sharp, don't be late. TTV, the sports awaits. Strawberry ice, he's on the mic, energy, it's pure delight.